Men have always been referred to as the hunters and women as the gatherers, but times have changed. More and more women are hunting, but the backlash against huntresses has been enormous.
I'm not sorry for what I've done.
Is it hunting people are opposed to, or is it women hunting?
It's raw prejudice against women succeeding, against women doing, getting out of the box, challenging norms, challenging stereotypes.
If these people are going to do it, they must realize that there is going to be backlash. People have the right to be offended.
We shadow a South African female hunter to get to grips with the issues. In early humankind, hunting was an essential part of survival, but times have changed. Most people no longer need to hunt and kill for food. But for some, the want to hunt didn't die out with this, and it has become what some term a sport. Like most sports which were male-dominated, there has been a shift, and more women are competing. The same is true for hunting. Cue characters such as American huntress Melissa Bachman. Bachman is the host of her own US special network TV show named Deadly Passion, which documents her many hunting trips throughout parts of America. She brings something to hunting which most men can't. She adds beauty and sex appeal. Melissa's been hunting since she was a young girl. Kendall Jones is another American huntress and has been hunting with her father since she was 9 years old. Her first hunting trip was in Zimbabwe, and she's not ashamed of the fact that she's a hunter.
That's how you shoot an alligator right there.
But huntresses, although sexed up in typical Hollywood style, are not just an American phenomenon. South Africa has many of its own female hunters. In fact, a woman is heading up one of the most prominent hunting organizations in South Africa.
That when FASA appointed me, it was because they knew I had the skills and attributes and I had the passion for the hunting fraternity.
Audrey is the first woman to be appointed CEO of the Professional Hunters Association.
So I didn't know how they're going to all of a sudden accept a woman in a testosterone-driven industry. I have been totally accepted by the men in the hunting fraternity in South Africa, and it's never been frowned upon.
Special assignment will accompany Audrey on a hunt, which she's been planning for nearly a year. But before the hunt, Audrey prepares a number of times by going to a shooting range where she can get some target practice.
I've done quite a few of the plains game species in South Africa, and it's always been my dream to do an eland hunt. That would also be the biggest animal that I've hunted so far. It's also an animal of which you can use the meat. It's very similar to beef. So what I'm going to do first is I'm first going to sight my rifle. That is, I'll be sitting down, so I'm stable, and I will aim at the target and see where it hits. It's sighted at 400 meters to be on the spot where I want it. So I'll just have to check it and see if it is still correct, or whether we should change anything to the scope. And it's a little bit to the left and a little bit high. That's why it's so important to sight it in first. Because if you would think it's going to hit on the right spot and it doesn't, then obviously you won't have the perfect shot when you're in the veld. Okay.
After her rifle scope is adjusted, Audrey has a few more practice shots off the bench, firing at life-size animal targets 100 meters away. But during the hunt, there will be no shooting bench. Audrey now has to practice off her shooting sticks. This is what she'll be using in the veld during her hunt.
The goal of any hunter out there is to have a one-shot kill. It doesn't always happen, but that is why it's so important to practice beforehand. On the hunt itself, obviously that's different because there's a lot of things to take consideration of. You might be tired of after walking a very long distance. There might be wind. It might be very bright sunlight. You might be looking into the sun or whatever. So there are always a lot of variables in the veld. So, but all 3 shots are in the vital areas. Basically, 2 of them have hit the heart, and the 3rd one is in the lung. So this is definitely a one-shot kill. My first shot was the best shot. Was it that one? Which one was my
first
checked
one.
through the binoculars? That was my first shot. The second shot is even also in the heart area and then the bigger lung area. So all 3 of them good shots. I'm more than well prepared for the hunt.
Audrey's big hunting day arrives, and the hunting team gets up early before the sun rises and grabs a quick breakfast. They've come to Rooipoort Game Reserve, about an hour outside of Kimberley in the Northern Cape. First, the team gets on a land cruiser, which travels along some dirt roads. They have many kilometres to cover on this large property of over 100,000 hectares in order to search for the right eland for Audrey to hunt. After driving for a while, the hunting outfitter Hans Vermaak stops to talk to Audrey about how the search is going. Vermaak is guiding and monitoring the hunt and will lead Audrey to find the right animal.
That bull out there is a beautiful animal, a fantastic specimen, but he's a little bit too young to hunt as a trophy. He doesn't have that big ruff on his forehead. He doesn't have the big dark dewlap and massive shoulders, which indicates that he's still quite a young bull. So he's definitely one that we'll not hunt, and we'll keep searching for a really big old bull.
After some more driving, the hunters decide to take a higher vantage point at the top of a water tower to give them a better idea of where to head.
Audrey, we've spotted some eland way out in these flat, almost featureless open plains. So we'll take our time here and just see what the wind does and just watch what the eland do, and then maybe come up with a plan to try and get closer. But my gut feeling at this stage is that we're going to be on our hands and knees.
Yeah, we're going to work hard. Scruff and them saw a bunch of eland this morning in the veld, and we looked at the conditions and we thought we're going to be in for a long stalk today.
After spotting eland in the distance, the hunting team now needs to get closer to the herd for a successful hunt. To do this, they change to walking and stalking on foot.
As we started with the stalk, first of all we were surprised by a herd of cows, I think about 4 or 5. And we all had to freeze in our footsteps exactly as we were and sat there for a few minutes. And then it started trotting off. We had to stalk very fast and very quickly. And then eventually we got the perfect shot. Squeeze.
In less than an hour of stalking by foot, Audrey's made a successful shot and her target eland has gone down. The team moves quickly to that spot.
Just give him another one. That spot. No, I want you there. I want you slightly. I want you there.
It's right on the right edge of the
That's fine. That's where I want you. Look at how old that bull is, and that abscess hasn't helped him either. Congratulations.
He's old.
Yeah, he's very old.
He is.
Well done. Let me leave you with you for a bit.
Just want some time with him by myself.
Shortly after the hunt, we ask Audrey to explain how she's feeling.
It's a prime animal. If you look, as I said, if you look at its condition, you could see it took strain this season. And if you look at the horns, and you see the character, and you just imagine his genes that he has spread throughout his life, this beautiful animal, and we could take him without him dying of hunger within the next 2 or 3 weeks, which is evident. You can see it would have happened. He wasn't in a good condition. So this is the ideal animal to take when you hunt, and I'm very proud. And it's my dream come true.
You seem quite emotional.
You know what? It's a life that you've taken. So it's an animal, but it's still a life that you've taken, and I'm not sorry for what I've done. I'm emotional in the sense of it all worked out, it all went well. And as I've just described, the animal that I have taken, but still it's a life that I've taken. So the first thing that I do when I've taken an animal's life is to appreciate it and look.
The eland is then posed so that Audrey can have some photographs with it.
Rochelle.
Look how hard that thing is.
Later, after a sunset game drive, we ask Audrey what motivates her as a woman and mother, usually a nurturing and caring role, to hunt and kill animals.
Your question almost makes it sound as if a woman hunts, if I go out hunting there, that I'm not a nurturing mother to my children, which is so far from the truth. I think people confuse the end product of having hunted the animal with a full experience. If we take, I've hunted earlier today. I spent some time in nature. I was in the veld the whole time. I didn't go out there with the intention to go and slaughter and kill and just be a cruel person. I know where my role as a hunter comes in South Africa, and even hunters worldwide as far as conservation is concerned. Hunting is sustainable utilization.
Audrey's passion and pleasure for hunting has often been met with scathing attack from many people via email and via her Facebook page when she posts pictures of her many hunts.
They can't accept the fact that I've hunted an animal where I'm going to consume the meat, and the animal had a fair chance. But it's all fine for them to threaten that they're going to put me as a target somewhere and that they're going to take my life.
Similar to Audrey, American huntresses Melissa Bachman and Kendall Jones have been the objects of hateful speech, derogatory remarks and death threats. But the scale of their attacks has been on an unprecedented level and has earned both women the title of the most hated woman on the internet. The internet onslaught began for Bachman when she posted a picture of herself on Facebook and Twitter with a male lion hunt she had made in Limpopo in November last year, with this caption. Almost immediately, social media went ablaze and Bachman started receiving scathing backlash from hundreds of thousands of Facebook and Twitter users around the world. Over the next few months, petitions were signed en masse to get Bachman banned from entering South Africa again, as well as to have her TV show pulled off the air. Kendall Jones found herself in an almost identical situation in July this year, when she also shared pictures on social media of herself with a male lion she had hunted in South Africa. Some people may have considered some of her poses with the dead lion in bad taste. It wasn't long before Jones received a barrage of defamatory cyber attacks.
Excited.
Me too.
I want to shoot a gator in the face. Right in the face. Right between the eyes. My boots, what about them?
Since the internet furore, Jones has launched an in-your-face YouTube hunting program called Game On, which she hosts with a friend. Many have referred to the program as distasteful and an obvious attempt to try and ride on her newfound infamy.
It looks like there's two.
But a large number of comments against these two women were not merely people expressing angry opinions about hunting, but rather gender-specific related attacks. The attacks on these female hunters appears to be about more than just a dislike for hunting.
What an absolutely beautiful animal. Check out the size of this rack.
Earlier in the program, we witnessed how female hunters locally and internationally, like Melissa Bachman and Kendall Jones, have been victims of internet harassment and bullying. What makes it so surprising is that male hunters are in the majority and their pictures are everywhere. Yet none of them have ever been victims of such large-scale defamatory cyber attacks. So is the issue really about hunting, or is it about women hunting? CEO of Genderlinks, Colleen Low-Morner, says this is blatant misogyny.
It's raw prejudice against women succeeding, against women doing, getting out of the box, challenging norms, challenging stereotypes. Ironically, of course, in the animal kingdom, it's the female lions that do the hunting, So maybe we need to go back to our animal roots. From the word get-go, men have been regarded as the hunters and women as the gatherers. So there's no more sort of male profession, if you like, than hunting. So for women to go into that area, it seems to spark off, this incredible negative reaction, and it brings out, unfortunately, the worst side of gender stereotypes, which is misogyny, and that's what we've seen in these instances.
Ainsley Hay from the NSPCA says some of the outcry about the Huntresses was just people expressing their unhappiness with hunting practices in the country.
We deal a lot with government to do it. If these people are going to do it, they must realise that there is going to be backlash. People have the right to be offended if you come to our country and start willy-nilly destroying our animals and being very proud and open about it on social media. So it's about time that the South African public got loud about what they will tolerate and what they don't, because they don't realise how much power they have. Public pressure is a greatly underutilised and underestimated tool.
University of Johannesburg psychology lecturer Tumi Diali says the anonymity of the internet can often give people a sense of bravery and entitlement.
Unfortunately, with our current life and society, there are things that society does to us and say to us that we can say that's said by faceless people, but have a huge impact. But we don't see the impact of the little things that we take for granted, that it's a 2-second tweet. But that 2-second tweet, it's about hating another person. If you call another human being all those words I read on those tweets and whatever, that could be a mother, that could be a daughter, that could be a sister, and you call them all that because of your own opinions, then you are attacking the person and not the fact. And it happens to be women. So for me, yes, there is a high rate of abuse and cyberbullying against women. This is one typical case that we are still perpetrating women abuse in one way or the other.
Hunting is a contentious issue and has a knack for creating heated debate. But do people have the right to post such attacking and derogatory statements about someone they don't even know via social media? Dario Milo, a partner at Weber Wenzel, warns that a tweet or a post on Facebook that promotes hate speech can have very serious consequences.
I spend quite a bit of my time training companies on social media and journalists. Because there is this perception that it's a bit of Wild West out there and you can get away with everything, and actually the opposite is true. All these old laws apply, some new laws apply. It's actually in some cases exacerbated because you are online. For instance, it's permanent. And to say, I didn't mean to do that, it was a mistake, let's forget it ever happened. So people have lost their jobs over tweets that have gone wrong. Models have had to apologize and lost sponsors. And there are very serious consequences.
And this doesn't only apply to what you write or post, but what you retweet or share too, and there's no safety in numbers.
The volume of these cases is increasing, and in fact quite dramatically. Well, there certainly is room for a rethink and revisiting whether it's right that these old laws apply to these new technologies, and if not, how the new technologies should be regulated.
Neither Bachman nor Jones have instituted any legal action. Hunters say they often feel they are unfairly vilified because they argue that hunting contributes to conservation.
Hunting has played a vital role in South Africa's conservation and wildlife success story starting in the 60s. Today it is estimated that we have about 24 million head of game in this country. In the late 60s it was estimated under 600,000. And as the hunting industry grew, so the wildlife numbers grew.
The NSPCA says there are two facets to hunting. biltong hunting and trophy hunting, and that while they are not necessarily opposed to biltong hunting, they are opposed to trophy hunting.
Trophy hunting, the animals that are being sourced for hunting are the biggest and the best animals. So you're taking out your genetically most important animals for the trophy hunting. And a lot of people say it's animals that are old and they're no longer breeding. That's actually not the case, especially if you look at your bull elephants. The animals that are trophy hunted are the prime breeding males. So you are removing very important animals from an ecosystem. A recent study has just confirmed that in the greater Mapangwe Transfrontier National Park up in the top island Popo, which involves Botswana and Zimbabwe, the elephant bull trophy hunting is completely out of control. The legal hunt is 4 times the recommended amount. So if this hunting carries on, big tusker elephant bulls in that area will be extinct in 10 years.
But Vermaak says that trophy hunting that is done responsibly can bring in millions, if not billions of rands into the country every year, which is being used to preserve wildlife and habitat.
Wildlife conservation takes money. Without money, it's just talk. Hunting creates a value for wildlife, which automatically creates an incentive to protect it and the space where it lives.
Hayes says that there is a big need for the country to enter into a debate about hunting, and that it's good that people like Kendall Jones and Melissa Bachman can draw public attention to the issue.
A lot of organisations and our government are blindly pro and biased towards hunting, and a lot of important debates need to happen, but they don't. Also, a lot of the information used by the hunting fraternity, it's non-evidence based. There's no science or research proving it. They'll just say, we give a lot of money to help this or we do that, but if there's no actual concrete evidence supporting it. So I think that evidence is very important and people should start requesting that. And people have the right to enter into healthy debate, and it's important that everyone does, and especially with something like hunting.
Despite all the internet backlash that our featured female hunters have received, all of them say they will continue hunting and stand by their right to hunt legally. None of them say they will stop hunting.
I give him a fair chance. I work hard. I walk and stalk. I prepare for it before the time. I know that I know my shot placement. I know the nature of the animal. At the end of the day, I consume the meat. I use the meat of the animal that I've hunted. And they're unhappy with that.